Hello, I'm Amy from moonmindology.com, and today I am looking at August, the transits. So first off, I just want to say that Uranus is sitting on a goal for this whole month, and Neptune is sitting on the fixed star sheet. And these are two stars that are associated with negativity and dangerous events. So a goal, as we know, is considered to be quite a negative star. It's associated with the Jewish original story of Adam was originally married to Lilith, and then he dumped her because she was a bit of a bad influence and got with old Eve. And you know, that wasn't the Bible story that I was taught, that's associated with Christianity. I think this is more a Jewish story, but I like this one better. It's much more dramatic. But a goal represents the head of Medusa, and of course Medusa was punished for being vain and ended up with snake hair. And despite the fact that it was a curse and probably being hard to brush and style, I think snake hair is pretty cool. But of course the story of Medusa is very tragic, and from the constellation you see the hero Perseus, who's holding the head of a Gorgon, which was Medusa, who was once a beautiful woman who just couldn't keep it in her pants. And, you know, this is a really interesting portion of the sky, and it's associated with Kritika as well. And equally, there is a theme of unfairness here, as the myth with that is the Weeping Sisters, who were falsely accused of infidelity. But what I will say is the myth actually deals a lot, in both cases, with women being treated unfairly. So you have to think, who is a woman who is in the area of where the eclipse happened, who is high profile and, you know, could potentially have something unfair happen to her? So the eclipse occurred in around the Americas, and who is a hot topic at the moment, who's female? Kamala Harris. So she could find that she is put in an unfair situation around about this time. But, you know, I honestly wonder whether Kamala is 100% happy being the front runner, and whether she feels that she is in a fair position. But I'm very interested to see how she performs in the coming months as well. Sheet, the other fixed star, this is associated with accidents to do with water, which is something I am very concerned about. And it also deals with weather disruptions as well. So Sheet sits in the leg of Pegasus, who was born from the blood of Medusa, who was connected to the previous myth. So Pegasus comes from a word that means springs and water. And so that's something to bear in mind. That's where the meaning of being associated with water comes from. And then Sheet sits in the nakshatra Uttara Bhadrapada, which is symbolized by the front legs of the funeral cot and the serpent of the deep. And what is the deepest thing? It's the ocean. So the Bhadrapadas are a scorching pair, so there can be association with burning and suffering. So what is both watery and what is also hot and lavery at the same time? Well, that's geological movements between the oceans. So again, those kind of things can cause tsunamis. So let's make sure that we're careful, especially around the Americas, because that is where the eclipse took place. So now we have that jolly piece out the way, let's move on. 1st of August, Rahu is in Pisces, and it is trine the sun at 15 degrees of Cancer. So there can be an expansion to leaders, and it can give them a lot of strength, as the sun rules the leaders of the world, the presidents, the rich, the big and powerful. And Rahu, when it's putting that energy on there, it's quite extreme, so it can give strength, but it can also take things as well. So it can also be the will of the people. Now Cancer, this is about towns, cities, properties, agriculture and things like that. So there could be disruption to those areas. We've got quite a lot of malefic energy hitting on that house. So, I know that recently we have had, especially in England, we've had a lot of protests, a lot of people who are unhappy, and that's impacted towns, people's property and cities because they're causing mayhem, they're causing a mess, they're destroying things. So this isn't, this is a sign of this occurring, and it is causing, problems for people. So I think this could still carry on with this aspect. The sun is sitting on the fixed star South Ocellus, and this is associated with the two celestial donkeys, and they were ridden into. Oh, actually, they weren't ridden. They were pulling a chariot that it pulled a chariot of some titans, or it would have been the gods, into some conflict or war with the titans, and of course. The titans were like, what's that weird noise? They didn't know what a donkey was, and they heard all this braying, thought, my gosh, that's a weird old thing, let's run. So off they went, we're not going to fight you with your mad donkeys. They're crazy, huge monsters by the sound of it. So we could see that there is intimidation tactics as well to leaders, and maybe in fact impacting people. But I hope that there is less of a leaders losing their minds, as Rahu can be really paranoid, and when it was combined with the sun, it can be a really powerful and loud leader. But there is this nourishing quality as well because it's sitting in the nakshatra of Pushya. So I'm really hoping that there can be more positivity and more healing during this time. So 2nd of August, Uranus is in Taurus, sitting on a goal, the fixed star everyone loves, and it's square Venus, 2 degrees of Leo. And so Uranus is going to be sitting on a goal for a while, and that's going to be up to October. And, this is going to be a period of time where there can be problems. A goal is a dangerous star, and it is associated with losing one's head. And when Uranus aspects Venus, there can be sudden changes in relationship, there can be breakups, divorces, endings, as well as sudden flashes in adoration. And Uranus is really, really hot in Kritika, and this is ruled by Agni, the deity of fire. So this is piercing, this is sharp, and there can be sudden danger as well. So I would say that if you do have any planets near this point, be careful. Venus is in Magha, and I'm not going to pay a huge amount of attention to that unless it's hitting a fixed star. It's a slow moving planet, it happens every year, but in Leo there can be an impact to royalty, government, power, so as well as there being sudden changes in that department. 4th of August, Neptune is in Pisces, sitting on Sheet, and it is quincunx Venus at 5 degrees, sitting on Regulus, the lion's heart. So this is interesting, as 2 outer planets are going to be aspecting this point at the same time. And, there can be delusions in love affairs as well as creativity. It's glamorous. But in Leo, the lion's heart, whose ascendant is here, Donald Trump. Incredibly interesting. But what is concerning is that Neptune is going to be on that fixed star sheet, and very bad fixed star, and it's associated with murder, misfortunes, as well as loss. So Trump needs to be vigilant around this time, as he is directly impacted by this planet, which is under the influence of this fixed star. Then on the 5th of August, Pluto is sitting in Capricorn, and it's quincunx Venus at 6 degrees of Leo. So this is a 6-8 relationship. It's another external planet that is lining up to more or less the degree with all of this. It's putting a lot of energy on it. And, with Pluto and Venus, there can be a sense of betrayal. Pluto is in Uttara Ashada, which is the undefeated one. So there can be connotations of fighting and aggression as well. 14th of August, Pluto is in Capricorn, quincunx Mercury at 6 in Leo. So Pluto gives a lot of energy to Mercury, which is going to really impact communication. So this could be control over media, communication and technology. It can affect governments as well as bringing a warlike power. And I think there's going to be a lot of turbulence in governments across the world. And as I said, the eclipse, America's, is a hot point. So there could certainly be something happening there. Also on the 14th of August, Mars is conjunct Jupiter, 22 degrees of Taurus, and it's sitting on the fixed star Rigel. So this is a very political combination. It's full of energy, it's full of aggression, it could bring arrogance and arguments because you've got Jupiter, which is all about law and order, and you know, the arrogance of it. I believe that this is the right thing to do. And then if you put in Mars, it's the, I really believe this is the right thing to do. I'll fight you over it, sunshine. So, so you've got a little bit of that energy going on. When you see this in a natal chart, it's very political. People can be very driven to go into politics with this. So that is why I say it's political. So Rigel, that's a fixed star that's been used a lot for timekeeping, for navigation. So, you know, it's the celestial beacon. People look to this star. And then you've got Orion, the hunter. And of course, he was given his own constellation after killing a scorpion. He was a hunter. He was an adventurer, and he would get himself into trouble. So Jupiter and Mars is very much the charming adventurer type. And there can be some blind luck at play here. But the other side of it that is problematic is it can be too much energy. I think I'm right. I'm really angry. So there can be, especially with Pluto aspecting all those planets, and you've got so much energy from the outer planets to one point, there can be a little bit of a worry mentality going on at this time. 15th of August, Neptune is in Pisces and it's quincunx Mercury, 5 degrees of Leo. Again, she is a very aggressive star. There's problems with outages, communications, technology here, damaged communications, media, or even there could be showing disturbing things on the TV, on the news, and there can be miscommunication as well, or, you know, people won't know what's going on. And there can also be scandals, you know, big things like that can crop up during this time as well. And then 19th, Venus is in Leo, opposed Saturn, 23 degrees of Aquarius. And I'm not keen on these combinations because there is a martyrdom, there's breakups, there's isolation. And I have seen this combination when negative things happen. So there can be a sadness, destruction, and Saturn is overpowering Venus. So, you know, there can be kind of like a reduction in luxury, restriction, and people can just feel like their sense of wealth and comfort is kind of impacted around about this point. 22nd of August, Mars is in Taurus and it's square Venus at 27 degrees of Leo, and it's sitting on Denebola. Denebola. I don't know how to say it. I'm sure my dad will tell me how to say it. You said that wrong. Thanks, Dad. Venus is going to be affected this month, which is going to make it weak, and it's in Leo. So, you know, it's not the happiest of places for Venus, and this is going to diminish the sweetness, and this could signify an event. And interestingly, it's the energy pushing into Leo, so this is going to impact the rich, royalty, brokers, lenders, and the stock exchange. Don't forget, you've got Saturn that's pointing its energy towards Venus as well during this time, so we could potentially see maybe stock market or something like that. There's a problem there. There could be something happen. So Denebola is the tail of the lion, and it's often associated with natural disasters and catastrophes. Yippee! So let's just hope that Mars doesn't grab that lion by the tail, get a bite, and then decides to have a fight with it because it's sitting right next to that Jupiter. Because Venus is quite weak, so it may not be able to act as a mediator whilst it's feeling so weak in Leo and going into Virgo, which moves me on to the 28th of August, where Neptune is in Pisces and it is opposed Venus, which is then in Virgo at 4 degrees. It's debilitated, so it's not great. Meanwhile, Neptune adds confusion, but it does balance, you know, the beauty side of it. Maybe it would be a great time to write some poetry. But the combination is very dreamy, deceptive, but there is an element of idolization here as well. And with Virgo, it's very serious. Again, Venus, weak, Neptune's the dominant energy here. So there can be scandals, problems with water, perhaps even something to do with oil, gas, synthetic materials, or unhappy people within the service industry. But overall, this is going to be another turbulent month. I think there could be some kind, there is conflict going on. Whether it's going to spill into somebody saying, well, we're actually at war with that country way over there now, or we're at war with our own country, or we're going to have a fight in the street. Could be some of that. I'd like to think not. I'd like to think that basically people are good and they can behave themselves. But you know, sometimes we get funny ideas as human beings. But what I will say is, if you do have any of these aspects pointing to any of your personal planets, doesn't matter where you are, don't join protests. Don't go out and put yourself at risk. Don't do stupid things, because there is a lot of quite powerful, scary energy going on this month. Especially, you know, you've got Uranus, Neptune and Pluto all pointing into Leo around about the same degrees. That is an awful lot of energy from the outer planets, and it's intense. It's like when you go out on a hot day and the sun is shining and you get your magnifying glass out and you set fire to things. Don't do that. But it is like that with these three elements, not elements, three planets looking directly. It is like it's magnified. So do bear that in mind. Don't be silly. But thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye.